Welcome back. I see you're plugging the mug right there.
Yeah.
um, we got a new merch store link, so when you
Wait,
check the
are you gonna
video,
say welcome to Don't Repeat What Mommy
yeah,
Says?
welcome back to Don't Repeat What Mommy Says.
Motherhood, unfiltered.
Yeah, all that shit. Um, we're gonna have a new merch store link. So our previous one was the Printful based merch store. We switched to a Square merch store so that we could add our bookmarks. Aren't they
Show the
beautiful?
tassel. Show the
I gotta
tassel.
show the tassel. There's a
Yeah, but I
tassel.
think we're gonna add a bead.
We might add beads. It says, oh my god, my light. I swear. It says, motherhood's a blood sport, because that's our book.
Right.
The back has a bunch of words that we felt defined motherhood. There will be better pictures of this on the merch store, I promise.
What
But
are the
these will be for
words?
sale. It says primal, nurturing, beautiful, instinct, chaos, fulfilling, transformative, powerful, brutal, miraculous, grit, grace, loving, strength, and relentless. And then there's our cute little author logo thing we made. It's a
Yeah, but you
little
can't. Yeah, it's
you
hard to
can't see
see.
it on here.
You can see the
It's
knife, but you can't see the books.
Yeah, it's a throwing knife in a stack of books, and there's like a little trickle of blood coming down the books. And then that's just a link to our website. So like our merch store, stuff about our book, all of that jazz is on the website link. But I'll link the merch store down below too. Um, so we have a new merch store. That link's going to be in the description. You can get your mug. You can get some bookmarks soon. I haven't taken the product photos to list them, but we have bookmarks coming, and they're pretty, and they go with our book.
Yeah, and I think we need to do the bead.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a bead. So I
I don't
just
know. I'm not sure if we're gonna do red beads or black beads or a combo.
there's gonna be beads.
There's gonna be
We're
beads.
doing
It's gonna be
beads.
amazing.
For some reason, the bookmarks really need to have a bead. Um,
Well, I like I like a bead.
so talking about our books and reading, I think because the way I had this like prompt on there, I think we're gonna expand it. This is gonna kind of be about the controversy of moms being on their phones, as
Okay.
well as self-care for moms. So
Well, maybe being on your phone is self-care.
that's kind of what I was thinking. So I brought up that we wanted to talk about the cell phones, moms on their phones, because moms get shit on all the time. They're at the park on their phone, scrolling social media, whatever, and people are giving them shit for not engaging with their kids. So, you, as a mother who raised children before the era where everyone had a cell phone, and definitely before smartphones, like when we were
Yeah,
very
and
little.
so we didn't have cell phones. I mean, people had cell phones before I had a cell phone. Because you used to have to pay for long distance, and I never shut up. So my husband was like, "We can't have long distance on the phone. You're killing us," you know. So getting a cell phone wasn't something he was like, because then you had roaming and everything. You didn't have like we do now, like with the plans now. So if anybody doesn't remember that, it could get real expensive real fast on a cell phone. So we didn't have them. But I used to take you guys to McDonald's Playland, and I was reading a book. I never kw what the hell you were doing you know,
Right.
until some kid was like, "Hey, your kid's stuck in the slide," and then I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm on." I mean,
So,
y-
yeah, that's the thing. Because I was like, I remember you taking us to the park when we were kids. And again,
mhm,
before everyone had phones
mhm,
and definitely before smartphones,
mhm,
we just went and played. You would be
mhm.
on a bench somewhere reading a book or chatting with, somebody else who
Another
was there.
mom or whatever.
Nobody
Yeah.
was paying attention to their kids, okay? Not that
No.
like they weren't paying any
I
attention.
mean, you look up every now and then, like, "Hey, are they still there?" Like, nobody stole my kid. Cool. If you saw somebody like Ginchy coming around, then you might pay a little more attention. Or if your kid was very little and there was like bigger kids, obviously you're gonna pay a little more attention because sometimes the bigger kids, they're rough and they don't see the little kids and you don't want them to knock your little poopa over. So yeah, but no, not what. I'm Gen X, and we were not helicopter parented. In fact, it was like the complete opposite of that. Um, So I think my generation was not quite as bad as everybody is now, but not quite as neglectful as our boomer parents were. So there is a happy medium, I feel. And I'm not saying that we did everything right because we didn't. And then of course, with just the constant news cycle and all of that, and the horrible things that could happen to your children. I understand people are like, you need to keep an eye on your children. I get that, but you don't have to be 24/7. Like, just leave moms alone. If they need to look at their damn phone, let them look at their damn phone. They're there. Like, if their kid needs something, they're going to scream, I promise. Even when they don't need something, they just start screaming sometimes. So it'll be all right.
Yeah, so my thing with that is they're shitting on these moms. All these moms are getting all this flack for it because they act like you, by looking at your phone, are somehow not, what's the word? You're not engaging with your child. Like, the assumption is you see a mom on her phone at the park, she's just never engaging with her child.
Right, and the reality is you take your kids to the park so you can quit engaging with them for a little while. Right? Because
Right.
at home you're engaging with them all the time because you don't have a choice because you're trying to not engage with them because you just want to do whatever. And they're like, mommy, mommy, mommy. But if you take them to the park for an hour, they might find another kid they could play with and maybe quit engaging with you for a little while. And that's the whole reason. That's
Right.
why I used to
So,
take you guys to McDonald's Playland. It's like a locked room, basically. Like it wasn't locked, but you know what I mean? Like the kid's not going to get away. So it's like I know they're in the ball pit or something somewhere or in a slide, and I can sit here for 20, 30 minutes and read my book while my kid's having fun, and I don't have to laugh on the inside at their stupid jokes.
yeah. So I don't understand why there's this perception that if a mom is doing something in public, especially in public, where she's not directly interacting with her child, she is somehow always not interacting with her child. Because I won't lie, my husband gets home most days. By the time he gets home, I'm sitting on my phone and my kids have a show on because I'm just done. But
Right,
that doesn't mean that's what I did all day. Like, we got
right.
up, we did breakfast, we played games. I mean, today, by the time he woke up, we were running up and down the hall playing airplanes because that's what my kids thought was fun today. Like, I spend huge chunks of my day playing with my kids.
And I promise you,
So,
I did not engage with my children like all that much. And my kid, I mean, not that I never engaged with my children. I did stuff with my kids, but like they were pretty independent little people. I wasn't like entertaining them 24/7, and my kids are adults now, and I have a close relationship with both of them. So, I mean, it's not that you do not have to engage with your children constantly. Now, some people have needier children than others. So, yes, you're probably going to engage more because your kid needs that. My kids didn't always need that, and they went through phases too. There were some times when you guys were clingier than other times.
well,
So it's fine.
and this isn't a new phenomenon by any stretch of the
No.
imagination.
Mm-mm.
Um, so there's a woman who does a bunch of videos. I cannot think of her name. If I think of it, I'll put it in the description or something. She's an anthropologist, I believe.
Mhm.
But she studies hunter-gatherer societies and the way that humans lived for 90% of human history. Um, Hunter-gatherer societies, moms were not constantly engaged with their children. In fact, most of the time they weren't. Not that they
Mm-mm.
never were. Like, of course, when they were breastfeeding babies, they did like a lot of baby wearing and they would feed on demand. And they
Sure.
have found like the frequency of feeding was really high in hunter-gatherer societies. So, in those first 2 to 4 years, yes, you're going to be more engaged with your children. But once their kids were older, it was really common in those societies that they would have one adult within shouting distance, and then the kids would play in like groups of children, kind of roughly by age.
And it's
So,
kind of
literally,
nice.
what we know about the dawn of human history is that kids were
Right.
allowed to be kids.
And it's really important anyway because that's how children learn to exist in society and like what are acceptable rules and stuff like that. You don't need your mom there constantly being like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I think they can work a lot of stuff out for themselves. It's like you need an adult there for when the kids get stupid, because they will eventually get stupid. And then you have to have an adult to be like, hey, knock it off, or no, you can't fly. Don't jump out of that tree or whatever. Uh, y-
Well, and I'm just saying, before we had this,
we read books.
people read books, they chatted with their friend, they caught up on the local news. Before they did that, before they had all that leisure time to be able to do those things, they were doing chores, they were doing laundry, they were, cleaning up the house, whatever, while their kids played outside. And it's
Well, and
okay.
you guys were pretty little when I was going to school to be a fitness trainer,
Yeah.
so I mean, I was studying a lot. I did the course. It's kind of an intensive course, so it's kind of a short amount of time, but you have to learn a lot of anatomy and biomechanics and stuff like that. So it's like a lot to learn in a short amount of time, So I was studying a lot, and they were amusing themselves. I mean, I was there, and of course, they would interrupt me when I was studying, and that was fine. And like Lauren, she'd want to, what are you studying? Let's talk muscles or whatever, But kids, they can amuse themselves, and they get to an age where they would kind of prefer to do that most of the time anyway, because kids, even if you don't have more than one child, like children who are lone children, a lot of times they're pretty good with using their imagination and you know just doing things on their own, and then they'll come by and be like, here, I made this fake food, and then you pretend to eat it, and then they go on their way.
Well, and child to child, they're going to be so different. Because, like, Henry was a first baby, but insanely independent. Like, 8 months old, he quit using bottles, started using sippy cups, and decided he could put himself to sleep. Like, so it got to the point where I laid him down. He got himself up when he was ready. He'd knock on the door to be let out. Um, and he likes to just kind of do his own thing. Yeah, he comes up and cuddles. He's a little more cuddly now,
Hmm.
but for the most part, he just wants to play and do his thing, and he really doesn't want me to participate.
Right.
Whereas Ava is a lot clingier. She needs to be, you know, held and rocked and a lot more attention, even
Hmm.
though she's older than Henry was at the age where he started being a lot more independent. But she
Right.
still has times where she prefers to be independently playing. So,
Sure.
like, there are chunks of my day where my kids just are doing their thing. It's not a crime when they're doing their thing for me to do something for myself.
Well, and like the other day, you said you needed a shower, and I was just like, leave the bathroom door open and just take a shower, because her kids won't nap this week. So we've been trying to record all week. So that's
Yes,
one thing about motherhood. You got to be flexible, because the kids will
because
change what your schedule's supposed to look like all the time. But I was just like, dude, like just leave the door open and just take a shower. And she's like, I don't know about all that, and I'm like, that's what I did. I just left the door open. Well, her kids ended up just staying in the bathroom, so they were supervised the whole time anyway.
yeah, I left. So our shower has a door, not a shower curtain. I left the shower door open, like at the back of the tub, just like a crack. And my kids were intermittently like looking in, being like, "Hi, mom," and then they'd walk around for a bit.
Right, and Ava threw a breakfast sausage in there.
Yeah, Ava was still eating a sausage that she dropped on the floor during breakfast, and she decided to throw it in the shower with me. And I don't know, Henry kept pulling stuff off the sink and showing it to me and going, "What's this, Mom?" And then he took my Epsom salts, and he's like holding the big bag of Epsom salts that weighs a ton, and he's holding it up like shaky armed. "What's this?" I'm like, "It's mine. Put it down."
Yeah, that's one thing about motherhood. You just got to be a little bit flexible and get things done however you can get them done sometimes. And sometimes it's ugly. The way you have to get things done is not pretty. And I think that we just need to not judge other people how they're getting stuff done. Just like be a little supportive of other moms. If they need to look at their phone right now, just leave it alone. Don't judge it. Don't think that they're sitting there at home on their phone constantly. Okay, maybe there are some moms who do that, and maybe that's not the best, whatever. But you
And I
don't
mean,
know. You don't live with them, so.
to be fair, I'm on my phone a lot
Mhm.
because I'm watching my kids, but I'm also trying to, like, you guys see the show, you guys see the book. There is a ton of behind the scenes, not even the fun part. Like, there's the editing, which is not terrible. Like, obviously, everyone knows videos get edited, but there's like, we just recently had an issue with the security certificates for our website, and that has been like a whole debacle to get done. So, like, there's all this behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing on my phone all day long.
Right.
And then
And
sometimes
Lauren
I just
does
gotta
all of
take
that
some
stuff.
time.
I do none of that stuff. Like none of it.
She provides the creativity, and I made taxes her job because I'm not doing
Yeah,
that.
I have to do the taxes, which I'm hiring someone to do.
She's outsourcing the one job, the one
Yeah, the
job
one job.
beyond
No,
talking and
I
writing.
have a like I no, no, come on. I do have a lot of the inspiration for a lot
You
of
do.
the stuff with the book especially.
Yeah, and to be fair, she does work another job,
I
which
do.
is part of why I take on so much of it because I do not work another job. This is my job
Well,
and
that
raising my
and
children.
you're relatively uh, on the spectrum and
Thanks, Mom.
I don't even mean that as an insult. Like she
No, I don't take it as a.
incessantly right. And no, she's never been diagnosed as on the spectrum. And please don't think I'm saying bad things about people on the spectrum. We have people in the family that I love very much that are on the spectrum. And
No,
but
I'm.
I don't see it as a disability unless you're like really high on the spectrum, you know, because like she just incessantly researches stuff. I do too, but like I don't even have to because she is like worse than I am. So I'm like, yeah, baby, we need to do this. And then the next thing I know, oh, it's done.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the like on the spectrum thing is sort of a joke between us, but it's not to like shit on people on the spectrum because I really think I might
Mm,
be, but I'm probably
maybe.
not going to ever get diagnosed because I just don't want to go through the rigmarole.
Well, it just doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter. Like, it
It
would
doesn't
not,
matter.
getting a diagnosis at this point in my life, I don't feel would affect how I operate.
Well, it's kind of so we're probably a strange family anyway, and we're very dry humor and we're very sarcastic people and all of that kind of thing. So we will joke around about a lot of things like being on the spectrum or um, well, before we knew I had Chiari malformation, every time I did something weird, we'd be like, "Oh God, Mom had a stroke again." I'm like, "Probably."
Yeah, we really thought it was like mini strokes and
Like
we were just
mini
laughing about
strokes.
it.
Oh yeah. Well, remember when I was like really my heart rate was like really 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 low and my blood pressure was really low, which my heart rate and my blood pressure are very low anyway, but I mean, I'm talking like almost dead low and I didn't
Yeah,
feel right and Lauren's like, "Are you going
like
to go to the
systemic
doctor?"
shock.
Yeah. She's like, "Are you going to go to the doctor?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to take a nap." And so I did, and she's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." I'm like, "Well, I need to." So I fell asleep on the couch, and when I woke up, she's like, "Do you feel any better?" I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Well, don't you think it's time to like, go to the doctor?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna take another nap." And she's like, "What if you die?" I'm like, "Well, then I'm not gonna care anymore." Whatever. So and then she's like, "You're probably having a stroke." And then after we were done with the stroke business, then it was, "Oh, it's the MS."
Oh yeah, we joked because
Yeah. So this is just how we are. We joke around about really morbid shit, which is probably why we wrote the kind of book that we wrote. You
yeah,
know,
because
because
there's stuff in the book that I think we find kind of humorous,
the
and
other
other
people
people would
cried.
find like, yeah, there are people
Some
who were
people,
texting me that like
I was
cried.
crying. I'm like, really? That made you cry? I'm like, I felt like that was pretty mild, but I guess
Right?
not.
Like, there are some tearjerker spots, but I feel like not as much in the first book personally. Like, there's some that, like, you could get a little misty eyed at.
Really?
Uh, yeah, the memories really got to people.
Yeah, and I don't know. So like the memories are very, very, very inspired by actual things that happened in my life. And they're not even traumatic for me. They just went with the story. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
but
people are like crying.
the butterfly memory gets a lot of people,
Really?
which we thought was kind of
I
funny.
think
So
the butterfly memory is hysterical.
she had a funeral for a butterfly as a little kid and
Hmm.
couldn't think of like a funeral song. So she started singing, what was it? Hark the
Fuck the
Herald
hair
Angels
to
Sing.
sing because I
Right.
only
So
remembered the Christmas carols from church.
Right. So like to us, we're like laughing about that because here's little what 5, 6-year-old Jennifer singing "Hark the Herald,"
Right.
and she's like burying a butterfly or some shit.
I did.
Like,
I didn't bury the. Yeah, so that actually happened. It just it's changed a bit for the story's purpose. Like the entire memory that's in the book isn't exactly how it happened, but the inspiration was this funeral I had for a butterfly when I was a kid, and
and I
people have
think you said it was
cried.
actually.
And
I think you said it was actually like two memories that you kind of like stitched together for the book, like loosely based on two separate memories.
uh,
Or is that a different one I'm thinking of?
uh, well, I mean, we did have a pet butterfly when I was little because we found a butterfly like a quarter of its wing got ripped off. And it wasn't dead, and we took it home, and my mom let us keep it. So we used to keep a bowl of honey on the table for it, and it could sort of fly, so it would get up there and drink the honey. So apparently, if you want to have a pet butterfly, a honey will sustain that butterfly. So that one didn't die, but then there was the dead butterfly that I put like in a jar with a bunch of like flower petals and stuff and had a funeral for it. So that's why and I promise you it was not really a pivotal moment in my life at all, but in the book it is a pivotal moment in her life.
Yeah,
Just
it's like a very defining moment of that character, and then like
right.
in the real life version was
It
not that. But
wasn't.
like people really thought that was like a tearjerker, and we're like chuckling about it because we thought it was kind of funny.
Right.
Um, but then like
But
book
that's
two
why
has some
the monarch
tearjerkers.
is a big symbol in some of the books.
Yeah. So we kind of got off topic, but
So off topic, but that's
it's what we
mom's.
do.
That's
I
mom's.
don't think we're really going to get to self-care today. It seems like we're talking more about mom shaming and children playing outside.
Right, let those kids play outside independently, and you're not a bad mom if you look at your phone. It's fine.
And, they'll play outside, maybe have a pivotal moment with a dead butterfly. I don't
Well, and see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I would have had a helicopter mom, I would not have this defining moment to put in Norma's life because I was totally inspired by the stupid butterfly that I had the funeral for.
Yeah, I think kids playing outside, and obviously that's going to look different depending on where you live, how old your kids
Absolutely.
are. Obviously, times are different. I understand. Like, I was pretty little when she used to let me like walk to my friend's house
Hmm.
or go out with. Granted, a lot of times when we were just like walking around, because that was something we did a lot, I
Hmm.
had to be with my sister to do it, who
Well, and
is
not only
almost four
that,
years older.
the place that we lived, there was a man who used to do the maintenance outside, and he always kind of kept an eye on the kids, and he was a trustworthy man. So if
He
I,
was a good, good man.
yes, he was a fantastic man, and he was a dad himself, and so if I was ever like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen my kid in a while, you know what I mean? Like they're not where they're supposed to be, especially when she was smaller. I'd come outside and he'd see that I looked worried and he'd be like, she's over there. So if he would see like one of the smaller kids, like, oh, they're probably outside their bounds, he would find work to do around where they were so he could keep an
Hmm.
eye on them. He never like would like try to take them home or anything like that. He would just kind of keep watch. So when whatever worried mom came by, he'd be like, "They're over there." The- you
Yeah,
know.
and
So
for
we
like the
had people. We had more of a community there.
well, and for like the older kids, because there was a lot of older kids there who didn't have great home situations.
Yes,
He would get them to like help him with
help them work.
things to keep them out of
Mhm.
trouble. Like he kept a lot of kids there out of trouble. So it was very different than like today. Like nobody knows their neighbors most places. Like where we live, Douglas is a very weird town because you will see kids like very young out totally unsupervised playing with other kids. And that's
But
just normal here, but
but
that's
it's
not normal in a lot of communities now.
right. It's more like when I grew up. Like yes, our parents told us to go outside, don't come home till it gets dark or whatever. But what people don't understand about our parents, because our parents get shit on a lot, like our boomer parents, um, that communities were a lot different then, and there was always somebody that knew where the hell the kids were. You know what I mean? Like different moms, because a lot of moms were home then and didn't have to work. Um, so there were more moms at home and or moms that were working different shifts and trying to make all that work because that's about when that kind of stuff started. So there was always a mom somewhere who kind of knew where the group of kids, because the kids would kind of travel in groups. Like you had your group of friends. There was some mom somewhere. They were checking on us. They weren't like we didn't necessarily know that, but like they could see you from the window, or there'd be a mom sitting outside smoking her cigarettes, and she's keeping an eye. So, you know what I mean? Like there was a little more community back then that it was a little bit safer to just let your kids go out and play. Where I now not there's not many places where that's just a thing.
Well, and like living in town, you might wait till your kids are a little bit older to let them play independently, like even within the confines of your yard. Whereas like living rural, I don't really think twice about it. Like if I get my 2-year-old out of the car and walk away and he decides to go walking off to another part of the yard, I don't think much of it. Like I'll go get him if we need to go inside or something, but I don't feel the need to hover over him. But our property is really rural, so it's not like he's going to run out into a busy road. He's not going to, like, if somebody was going to come up on our property with, nefarious intentions, I'm going to see them before they get anywhere near my kid. Uh,
Well, and that's what people need to just, I mean, my best advice is use your best judgment. You know your situation, you know your neighborhood, you know your child. Like, do you have a
mhm.
child that's a runner? You're probably not going to take your eyes off of them till they're past that stage. Like, I get that, but just try not to judge other people because other people's circumstances and neighborhoods and, living may be completely different. So what's appropriate for one might not be appropriate for another.
Right. And like, so our property does have some hazards on it. So, like, the rule with my kid, since he's old enough to kind of understand the rules, is he just needs to stay where I can see him. Like, he can go as far as he wants as long as I can see him, and he knows the boundaries are the fences and the ditch. He can't go over, like, he can't go across the bridge without an adult, and he knows that. Like, he'll wait for somebody to come hold his hand to go across the bridge. So, like, those are the boundaries we've set. So my kid's extremely little, and that is way littler than a lot of people would let their kids play that independently in the outdoor world. But I wouldn't shame a mom who does it, who, has a good system down and they're using their best judgment.
Well, and you want a funny story from not the boomer parents, but their parents? What generation are they?
I think the silent generation.
Yeah, well, apparently my mom said when she was a kid, she looked outside and there was a kid outside playing by himself, like a little kid, all bundled up and everything, because I guess it was like during winter or whatever, and he was attached to a clothesline.
Yeah. I don't. I don't know that I can condone.
I don't know either, but my mom said that when she was a kid. She's like, God, I thought that was like so abusive. Like she tied him up like a dog. And I'm like, maybe she was trying to get the dishes done and she was probably standing at the window so she could see her kid, but knew her kid would take off. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to judge it. I wasn't there, but how funny. I was just like, yeah,
But
I don't think that was commonplace for their generation to do, but that lady did it.
well, and like we've talked about on the show with the chores for kids. I have Henry get the eggs for me when the weather's nice enough. If it's super cold, I go outside by myself and deal with all the animals. But when the weather's nice, I hand him a basket and a flashlight and I let him go. Like he goes to the coop, he gets all the eggs, he does it totally by himself, and he's gonna be 3 in 2 months. So, like, different kids, different situations. Because I don't know that I would have done that with Aaliyah at the same age, because she's a different kid. Um, although I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? Aaliyah is very terrified of being kidnapped.
Yes, she's
So
very
if
terrified.
so you know how like your kids being a butt in the store and they like won't. You're like, it's
Cooperate.
time to go, and they're like, no, I'm not gonna go. So you're like, well, I'm just gonna walk away without you then, and then they'll be like, oh no, and follow you. Aaliyah will have a full on meltdown. I almost got stolen. It's like, no, you didn't. Nobody's stealing you. You're terrible. You're fine.
And speaking of different kids, so I, when Henry was born and up until shortly after I had Ava, we all had the same doctor. So, like from birth, Henry knew this lady super well. Well, I had to switch doctors, and I've only been to two appointments with her in person. The rest have all been telehealth. The first appointment I went by myself. The one I went to recently, I had to bring the kids. Henry has never seen this woman before in his life. He crawled up in her lap and sat in her lap for like the whole appointment. So, like, different kids. Henry, somebody would be like, come on, kid, and they'd be creepy, and he'd just go. So, I do have to
Well,
watch him a little more with the strangers because he's got no
Paige,
stranger
if
danger.
it was like an old man, she would sit in their lap when she was little because I think she thought every old man was her grandpa when she was little. And I was like, oh, baby, you can't do that, and like the little old men would always be like, she's fine. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I really, I don't want my kid doing that, But apparently, I did not know this until I was talking about it with my mom one time. She's like, oh, you used to do that all the time. You thought every old man was your grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
So
And,
apparently
like,
that's hereditary. I don't understand.
yeah, because Henry loves older people. I'm not going to say like old people because, like, she's not a doctor, she's a PA, but whatever. Like, she's not that old, but she's older than I am. Apparently, anyone who looks older than me is like fair game because there was the guy in the waiting room too that he was just like having a whole conversation with. Funny enough, I don't know the guy's last name, so this like whatever. His first name was Jude,
Oh, that's
and
funny.
I was like, oh, we have a character named after you. Well, not named after you, but like the same name as you.
Yeah. I don't even know where
Super
we came
funny.
up with Jude. I think I was just thinking that song, Hey Jude, don't be afraid. Because
Yeah,
we have a lot of people in our books and we have to keep coming up with names and oh man.
and trying like so duplicate names happen in real life. The problem is in a book it makes it confusing to know who's who. So trying to avoid duplicate names in a book has been a beast. We do have, I think, one duplicate name. I think
We do. But the one's
Josh,
dead. But
but the
one's dead.
one is no longer alive.
He's dead.
So yes,
Dead.
that. So there are two Joshes in the book, but they're one's living and one is not. So
Right.
makes it a
Right.
little easier to distinguish who's who.
Yeah,
But
it's there yeah, we got a lot of people. So many moving parts in
well,
that
and
book.
I mean,
And
yeah,
it
because
seems to be growing, like they're growing.
somehow it is growing, and that is horrifying. But like, we have a ton of characters, and it's coming up with names is something. I don't
Well,
even know
we
where we came up with Norma.
big Norma Bates.
Oh, you're right. I love Norma Bates. Not original Bates. What it was it? Was it? It was Bates Motel, wasn't it? No,
It's Bates Motel is the series that
Bates
Norma
Motel is the
Bates is in.
series.
And so Vera Farmiga plays her, and if you don't know who she was the one that's in what is that? What's that with
The
Annabelle?
Conjuring.
The Conjuring. She's the actress in The Conjuring, and I just really like Vera Farmiga. I like her in everything she's ever been in. But
Love
as
her.
Norma Bates, she was like fantastic. And so Norma in my book is based on me, or at least my personality, and she has some of my memories that I think are funny and people cry about. But
It might be a
I
trauma response.
it might be a trauma response, but yeah. Um, anyway, there's several. So the Norma Bates in Bates Motel wore a lot of 50s style dresses and stuff, and I had this one dress one time, whatever, and Lauren's like, "Oh my God, you look like Norma Bates." So anyway, that's how I came. That's why we came up with Norma because we
Yeah.
just really like Vera and
And I even said, I was like, man, if this ever gets turned into like a movie, I want Norma or Vera
Vera
Farmiga to
Farmiga.
play Norma. But then, like, you brought up the good point. By then, she would probably be too old to play young Norma, at least. Like, we
Mhm.
could maybe have her play older Norma, but she'd be a little bit too old to play young Norma.
I love Vera Farmiga.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh,
she's
she's so
fantastic.
good.
She's fantastic. And as Norma Bates, like just the character of Norma Bates in Bates Motel is like so the mom who went through so much trauma, but my God, she perseveres. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's one part in Bates Motel, and if you haven't watched it, I'm not going to say because like I don't want to ruin it. But she has something horribly traumatic happen, and then she's like cleaning up the house because she's got kids to take care of. She doesn't have time to worry about that
Right.
trauma and that bull. Like
Right. She
cleaning
in
up the
that.
body, I think. I think there was a body after that one.
Well, her and Norma buried a body together. Her and Norman
Yeah,
buried a
her and
body
Norman buried a body
together.
together.
But I mean, she knew her son was a freaking monster and she still did everything she could to protect her son, which, probably not the best mothering, but that does kind of embody our Norma. Like, our Norma would do anything for her children.
You know what they say, families that slay together stay together.
Stay together, right? So,
I
but
was actually
that's why we went with Norma because remember we were gonna write the book and it was different and it was Susan and
Susan.
my
Yeah,
God,
so
no, Norma is a badass character in Bates
if you
Motel
couldn't
and our book.
if you couldn't tell between this and our last like two-part episode, we really like talking about our book.
We do.
We do. It's so good. But you know what? Norma is the mom who would let her kids play outside and who wouldn't feel bad for taking a minute to herself while her kids were occupied.
Well, not only that, Norma taught her kids to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think teaching your children to be self-sufficient, to be aware of their situations, and those what ifs. We did that whole episode on empowering your children. But if your children have those tools, at the ready and you are confident in their ability to use said tools, you can have a lot more confidence with your children outside. So, like, Henry and I have rehearsed it at this point because I found out he's better with the repetition.
Hmm.
So, we'll talk about okay, if this happens, I'm going to say this, you're going to do this. If I say this, you do this, and we'll go over it and over and over it. And then we'll practice it. So I told him, because we get a lot of like coyotes and sometimes mountain lions and stuff. So I've told him, like, if we're outside and I say, go inside now, exactly like that, I say, go inside now, your job is to run to the door. No questions, no breaks, nothing. And he's gotten really good at it. Because
Well,
I
and
told him,
that's,
like, it's your safety.
I mean, we did the same thing growing up. We had a plan for literally everything. Um, I
I'm not
mean,
saying be paranoid, but be
yeah,
aware.
I know, and people used to say that to me when you guys were little too, like that I was making you paranoid, but I feel like I made my kids empowered. I don't feel like my kids walked around afraid. They knew what to do. Any situation, they knew what to do.
Yeah, I don't recall having fear, not of something happening like that, because I had the knowledge of this is what I'm supposed to do if this. Now, I had fear, but that's mostly because I'm afraid of heights and I was a climber. It makes perfect sense.
Well, I just mean, and I didn't have to worry. Like when my girls were teenagers, I know there's a lot of angst with parents that have teenage girls, particularly if you have teenage girls that are very pretty and don't look as young as they are, which was the
Yes.
case for my children and for myself when I was a teenager. We were early bloomers. And I didn't worry about them. Like my girls knew what to do. My girls not only did they know what to do if like they knew how to defend themselves, but they were also very confident in who they were as, you know, they weren't women yet, but growing into women, and they had hard boundaries and they knew how to enforce those boundaries. Like there wasn't a boy that was going to manipulate my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were
Well,
not,
and
they were very, they were raised to be very independent and they were raised to use their brain and to speak up.
and so a funny anecdote about that and being the early bloomers, because I used to tell my husband like some of the stories of just men being gross
Gross, yeah.
and like hitting on me when I was very young, like
Mhm.
11 years old, young. And my husband was like, in his head, he always pictured like a much younger looking kid. And
Mm.
then he saw a picture of me from when I was 11. And he's like, I could understand where somebody would have made the honest mistake and thought you were an adult.
Yeah,
So I think that might have been part of his apprehension when he found out we were having a girl.
could have
I
been.
think that freaked him out a little because I looked like so mature for my age when I was 11. Like I looked like a full grown adult. Because by 11 I was already like 5'6" and fairly filled out already, so I did not look like a kid.
Mm-mm. I didn't either. I mean, there was a grown man who knew my dad, whatever. I was like 14, and he was like, I really like your daughter. I'm going to ask her out. And he's like, well, you'll go to jail because she's 14. And the guy
Yeah.
really didn't know. He thought I was an adult, And my dad's like, no, quit looking at my daughter. But some kids, some, you know, girls just bloom early and don't look like children. So in that case, you don't need to be worried about it. You just need to teach your daughters how to handle themselves. Yes, how to physically defend themselves. That's important. But what's also important is for them to know what their boundaries are and to feel empowered to speak up and be like, leave me alone. I'm freaking 14.
Yeah, and if you have a daughter who is an early bloomer, like she can't help that.
No,
So, because I had people in my life, not my parents, thank
no.
God,
Mm-mm.
who like would shame me for seeming older than I was,
Right.
but then would also shame me for acting my age.
Yes.
So
It's a weird
it's
dichotomy to
such
deal
a,
with.
and to be fair, I got that from a extremely young age, like before puberty, before seeming like an adult, just because I had a tendency to act older than I was. Like I was like 3 going on 30. Um, it was very weird, but then when I acted like a 3-year-old, people would get like shocked and offended that I did something normal for a 3-year-old. So let your kids be kids.
And let them be
Don't,
themselves.
yeah, don't shame them either way because it doesn't feel good for the kid and it's not going to help your relationship with your child.
Mm-mm. Now, I
Like,
think that it's very important for you to just let your kids be who they are. You guide them, obviously. You want to guide your children to do the right things and things like that, but your kids are their own person and they're allowed to develop their own personality and they should feel free to be themselves, especially around you.
yeah,
Their little weird selves, like whatever their personalities are, just let them be. Let
yeah.
them feel comfortable in their own skin. There's going to be judgment enough when they get in middle school. They don't need it from you.
Oh God, middle school is the worst. Like
Middle
of all
school
the
is a
schools, middle
battlefield.
school is brutal.
It's so brutal.
Um, so I guess on that note, let your kids play outside. Quit shitting on moms for taking their moment of peace to have peace, however that looks for them, whether that's a book, a phone, a TV show. Leave them alone. And let your kids be kids. And read our book. Because, yeah, I'm throwing that in there.
Because Norma's the shit. We love her.
Because Norma's the shit. All right. Outro time. Boop.